Thanks for pressing pay me no mind video for everybody that's catching this after it streams live. Kind of a midday check-in for Bite Down Boxing. Just a couple of topics that I wanted to talk about, and couldn't share them with my wife, so I'm on here talking to this microphone and this camera. Jamel Herring, WBO junior featherweight, super featherweight champion, faces Herring-Frampton over in Dubai this weekend. Haven't heard a lot about this undercard. Like I said, I know Keyshawn Davis is on there, but he was on the Akabarak show. My man, the commodity, the commodity out of Indiana, Anderson. But no, the Herring situation. He appeared on the Akabarak show on Sirius XM yesterday. Just want to know if anybody has any concerns about COVID-19. He had COVID last year ahead of his fight with the little small guy, where it ended kind of controversial or in a disaster, really, for him. Also, I talked last week about Bud Crawford, Terrence Crawford. A lot of people had an issue with him talking about Canelo. Thought maybe he spoke out of place, and sullied the reputation and name of the great Saul Canelo Alvarez. You're not allowed to do that. And then also just tying this into some interesting information from Ring City, USA, who is the agnostic promoter doing business on NBC Sports Network. They had some of their best ratings in this 3-box series that they just did in Puerto Rico, and kind of how this ties into what Teofimo Lopez Sr. said. So let me hit on this Jamel Herring thing really quickly. He fights this weekend, to defend his title. He was on, like I said, the Akabarak show on Sirius XM yesterday. And the one thing that came to mind, especially coming out of this weekend, was the fact how badly 41-year-old Alexander Povetkin looked against Dillian White. That fight was postponed twice, I believe, because Povetkin contracted COVID and was in the hospital twice, according to some reports that I saw. But his legs look very bad. He obviously got beat up very badly and was unable to perform at any kind of high level. So the other thing was, a few months ago, if you remember how Miguel Burchelt, the former super featherweight champion WBC, his title fight against Oscar Valdez, he did not look good to open his fight. And then definitely after he got knocked down second or third round, or got cracked pretty bad, his legs looked bad. His balance looked impaired. So shout out to Strike 7 Sports here on YouTube channel. He did a review or recap of Dillian White's 4th round knockout of Povetkin, and he mentioned Cam Newton. Cam Newton had COVID, and Strike 7 reminded me that when Cam Newton was on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall and Fred Taylor, he said once he came back from his COVID situation, his legs weren't right. He said his performance, was changed significantly. So here with Jamel Herring, the one thing that's interesting to him, and I'm not accusing the man of nothing, I think I understand why he said what he said. Before he fought the last individual, not Okendo, I cannot think of little dude's name, little short cat, but he said he was just asymptomatic. He said he didn't really have any complications from COVID. But here on the Barak show yesterday, on the Akin Barak show yesterday, he did mention of having some symptoms and some complications and getting through it, and said that it affected him, or hinted that it affected him on fight night. Now I know people are gonna run out there and say he's just planting the seed in case things go wrong Saturday. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think back before his fight against the Golden Boy fighter who he fought. Of course, going into a fight, you wouldn't tell the media, or you wouldn't let it be known that you had to overcome some effects. You would keep your cards close to your chest, as you say. So regardless of it, if he did or didn't, I'm just saying he mentioned it yesterday on the Ak and Barak show. So it's one thing to keep in mind as you watch the fight this weekend, if you tune into it. Does it potentially become a situation for him and something that he has to try to manage against a guy? I believe Frampton is favored in that fight. I don't really have I'm just watching the fight. I don't really care. But Herring also spoke on being challenged or pursued by Shakur Stevenson. They asked him, if you get past Frampton, would you take that fight? Shakur has put it out there that he predicts Jamel Herring will vacate the title if he defends it and avoid fighting him. Make of that what you will. This Teofimo Lopez senior situation, like I said last week, a couple of channels, a couple of outlets, a lot of people on Facebook, a lot of people on social media and Twitter and Instagram were on Bud's neck because Bud said that, and it was all politically or respectfully said. He said the man shies away. He said he has shied away from black fighters. Paraphrasing it. That was Bud's opinion. Some people went and wanted to hold Bud to some different standard, like he can't give any response that he wants to. It has to be 100% factual in just doing an interview. Like you just can't shoot the shit per se about your workplace. So in my defense of what Bud said was it's exactly that. Like it's water cooler talk. It's scuttlebutt. He's just saying what he wanted to say. He's just saying how he saw it. And it's a lot of black fans out there who feel the same way. Whether or not we're wrong or right, a lot of us would like to see a fight against either Andre or Big Charlo. That's how we feel. Here we go with Lopez Sr. Nobody said anything in the last 24 hours. Teofimo Lopez Sr. appeared in a Fight Hype video and said that his son, Teofimo Lopez Jr., they will only be fighting on pay-per-view. They've made it to pay-per-view. They are pay-per-view stars, and that's where they will be fighting in the future. Why isn't anybody outraged about that? They have not proven that they are pay-per-view fighter, that he's a pay-per-view fighter. He has a great deal to fight on pay-per-view, but we haven't seen whether or not he covers the cost of that $4-some million that the purse that he'll be getting. We don't have any receipts on that just yet. And so for me, it sounds outrageous that Teofimo Lopez Sr. says that moving forward, we'll be fighting on pay-per-view solely. That's straight bullshit. Like, it's really no fighters out there that are really doing great pay-per-view numbers. It's a couple of people in Errol Spence Jr. Maybe that list is as short as Errol Spence Jr. I guess the hybrid thing that they're doing with DAZN and Canelo Alvarez, but really nobody is really doing great on pay-per-view. It's a couple of people that are they're either breaking even or they're doing enough business that it makes sense, but nobody is really killing it. It's like going, it's the same situation as the record industry where, everybody was talking about going multi-platinum back in the 90s, the mid-90s to probably 2005 maybe. Everybody was talking about going multi. Then we get to 2010 and people are happy to go gold again. The market has changed. But I don't hear anybody complaining about Lopez Sr. is on some shit. He's on some bullshit. He's talking out of pocket. He's wilding like nothing. Nobody going and seeing what everybody's pay-per-view numbers are and making any kind of argument. But he just said what he said. So like I said in my follow-up video, Bud creating all of the fervor and all of the noise that was out there. It just means that that Bud is important. That's it. It was really no real smoke there. With that though, looking into these Ring City USA numbers, I guess their show that was headlined by former 130-pound champion Alberto Machado, again, where he was stopped last week against or 2 weeks ago against Angel Fierro. They got their best numbers, 125,000 viewers, I think. And I think that was followed up by 106,000 viewers for this past Thursday night's Amanda Serrano versus Daniela Bermudez card. So those are significantly, I mean, those numbers are a little bit lower, but they're great for Ring City USA. But one thing that I heard on there that was spoken by former, I don't know what division, but Iron Boy Calderon. One thing where he gave some game away to give you an idea of what I've been talking about with the struggles right now for black fighters to get decent fights is that Calderon sat there during that broadcast and said, as a fighter, your job is to listen. He said, as a fighter, your job is to listen to your corner. And then beyond that, your job is to listen to your promoter and you go do what they say. And you're not getting that type. You're not going to, promoters and managers and all of these TV networks, they're just not going to get that type of cooperation from any U.S. fighters, whatever they are. It's just not going to happen. And then specifically, you definitely just not going to tell any black fighter to fight who you want them to fight, when you want them to fight, and at whatever price. It's just not going to happen. So we just see the same thing going on in boxing as in all business, in commerce, period, in capitalism, period. You want a workforce that is inexpensive and that you can leverage that paycheck over them to get them to do whatever the hell you want them to do. We just saw Killer Mike was down in Alabama at an Amazon fulfillment center or distribution center. And this is one of the crazy things when I look at some of the conversations out here about the human rights record of China and what goes on in China. But here, right inside the friendly borders of the USA, nobody says anything about what Amazon is doing with its workforce. And we know that they have to be getting treated pretty shitty, but nobody says anything about it. And so, again, here for Ring City USA and what they're trying to do, they're just the new kid on the block. And you go look around and grab up the fighters that you can actually get into the ring at an affordable, at a budget-friendly price. And it's going to be these Latino fighters. And I'm not saying that's a knock against them. But if you look at the exchange rate, you look at the money that they'll get for these fights versus the cost of living in their home countries, and the fact that it does pretty good viewership on TV, that's where the money is going. That's the people who are going to get an opportunity to go fight. The easier you are to do business with, somebody will do business with you. And so, I salute Ring City USA in terms of what they're trying to do, how they're trying to do it. And it's just they come along at a moment when it can be done. All of the other promoters at this particular time, you have your costs have risen. As you put a lot of these fighters on TV, their profiles have raised, their records have improved, the cost goes up. And here we are, where a lot of they're having problems with doing anything with the fighters that they have signed, that they have the next thing that they would like to do. It costs too much. So, and the people that will, that don't have the, they constantly do a risk and reward analysis or a cost analysis, and they determine what they can do and what they can't. And I'm just saying a lot of the U.S. fighters that we would like to see that would happen to be black, it's just not a lot of work for those dudes, especially with us not being able, or with them not being able to to fully understand, when fans will be back in venues at 100% capacity. Everybody just can't go to the couple of states where it's wide open, and you just can't put 6 and 7 events there and think that it's going to work. So, and then lastly, just the whole situation. I was talking with another podcaster, boxing podcaster, and we were going back and forth. I'm not knocking a lot of the black fighters for their guarantees or their minimum guarantees. I'm not knocking the Latino fighters for what they're willing to accept to go fight. They have to live. People have to live. I'm not blaming DAZN for raising, the pay scale. I'm not blaming the PBC. But I think this is all I think all of this originated with the PBC improving the quality of the boxing that we see from week to week, whether it be on when it was on toe-to-toe Tuesdays, when they had some shows on Fridays, on all the different networks that they were doing the time buys on, even when it switched up to just being on Saturday, and then the cards that are on Showtime. I think in general they had the PBC's lasting impact is that they improved the quality of the fights that we see from week to week, and with that improvement in quality, it's driven up the cost of this for everybody. So and then you can, if you want to say that DAZN came in as another disruptor and kind of reset things again and having a negative impact, I'm not going to argue that. But if you want to see quality in anything, or if you want quality in anything, it's going to be a cost associated with that. And so that's it. Shout out to Ring City USA. They have a couple of great main events coming up. I believe it's the 8th with a pair of 154-pound on the cusp of being contenders. And Charles Conwell out of Cleveland, Ohio, and Ivan Golub from, I think, Brooklyn, New York. That's going to be an excellent fight. It's dope that Ring City USA can put that together. The crazy thing is that it's a secret location at this point. That's what it's being listed at, is it's a secret location, and the fight is on the 8th. The other fight that's coming together, I believe, will be a week or two after that, is a phenomenal matchup of U.S. heavyweights. And Stefan Shaw, undefeated, and or Stephen Shaw, I'm sorry. His mama's name is Stephanie. So Stephen Shaw, big shot, and then Michigan's Jermaine Franklin. I think that's going to be an excellent Thursday night fight. I hope those two fights aren't together. I don't think they are. I saw some activity on Shaw's Instagram page. I also saw it was some outdoor workout that Franklin was doing and just talking about, he's coming. I just think that's an excellent fight, man. And looking forward to how that, to the outcome of that fight. So that was it, man. Just talking through I know it's not the sexy boxing talk. It's not the most controversial stuff, but those are just three things that kind of stood out to me. Oh, the other thing on that Ring City USA situation was, I've talked about this before. NBC Sports Network is going away by the end of 2021. So at some point in time, they'll have to decide where Ring City USA Boxing is going to go. Does it go to Peacock, the new streaming service? Does it go to USA Network? Where does this relationship, go and live moving forward? So that's something to consider. But what they have been doing already is the preliminary fights have been streaming live on their Twitch channel. I like boxing enough to where I went and downloaded the Twitch app, signed up, yada, yada, yada. And I've been tuning in and watching the fights on the Twitch channel. So they had great or all-time highs for the series on its Twitch channel with like 12,000 unique views. So the interesting thing there is that while Ring City USA was in Puerto Rico doing those 3 shows, it was a ton of Spanish-speaking people in the chat section. So much so that I didn't say anything because I don't speak Spanish. But I just think it's dope that people are supporting the sport on that level and kind of creating, new opportunities or new ways for promoters to try to put these fights on. And so I just thought that was unique, and it's just a symbol of the success for them. And also, if you look at it, with Machado and the Fierro kid, with Amanda Serrano and Daniela Bermudez, Angel Acosta was on there, former world champion. It just goes to show that you can work hard and figure out a way to go out here and make competitive fights. Try to keep the cost down so that you can pull these fights off, and people will tune in and watch. And sometimes we get to see some pretty good boxing. And just my last statement to all major all boxing fans. It just may not always be these high level fights or these best versus best fights that some of us covet. It's going to be increasingly difficult for some of those fights to make when with the business circumstances or the business challenges that these promoters and their TV partners are going to be dealing with. So that's it, man. Enjoy the fights this weekend. I was talking earlier. Good luck or best of luck to Simplified Jamel Herring over there against, I think, what is Herring-Frampton, 2-division champion. We'll see how that happens. Hopefully he is 100% healthy. No post-COVID situations or complications for him. I would hate to see, a similar situation. Here you are, you're the defending champion. He was supposed to fight in Belfast originally. And now here you are in Dubai. Again, a lot of fighters don't have to take these kind of risks when you're the A side or when you're the champion. Everything is stacked in your favor. And here it is. He's kind of exposed here, fighting in this foreign land. We'll see what happens. My name is Wood. Bite Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. 1.